People, Deluded, I'm back again. Good evening, I hope you're all well and all of these sort of things. I'm feeling so conscious of the word people yet again, but moving on. Sanllehi or Sanllehi, forgive me of pronunciations, Raul we shall call him, has had some things to say, allegedly. So I've got some quotes here, courtesy of so bad. I'm always on this Twitter account as well. Man, no disrespect at all, but it's ZR, man. Sometimes when I go on, if you're watching this, sometimes when I go on your account, for some reason it's like it says unavailable. I don't know what's wrong with it, but courtesy of him, as usual, him and the other Arsenal accounts, they do a great job of around the clock news. But thanks to him, he's paraphrased some important statements or the takeaways from Sanllehi speaking. So let's start. We have identified very clearly and ununanimously, with our head coach and technical people. We know what we want to prioritize, and we're very clear on what our priorities are. That's reassuring to hear. That's great because there's no Wenger, there's no Ivan Glazides, there's no people. We know our fans were. You was either Wenger in, Wenger out, everybody have to dead up and all of these sort of things, and people have moved in certain sort of ways, sadly. People, you know how tribal people can be. And I'm sure the logical fans like ourselves have had your opinions. We don't need to air them, but it's nice to see that the head coach and the technical people have identified what's needed. I mean, the fans can tell you we need a centre-half, we need a midfielder, we need a winger that can grab goals and be a real outlet out there to bring the best out of possibly the strikers. And yeah, we can obviously, if it was an ideal world, then we could quickly splash the peas or do whatever and get them areas identified. Probably for me anyways, possibly looking at a right back of sorts to compete or be back up for Bellerin, sorting out left back because I think that's a high priority. It was left back last season was high for me and it still is, but we're crying for a centre half. For me, the one thing from you lot know me that watch me, the one position I need is centre half. I need centre half, midfielder as well, but centre half the vital one. And we need a winger because we're very predictable at times out wide, and just it would be nice to have a real winger. I know Alexis is bust out and he's not the same, but when Alexis was there, or Perez or Freddie, or you lot, we could sit here and name names and do all of these things. You get the point. So it's nice to see at least they're identifying what the priorities are. So yeah, it's good to see, man. I was going to talk about something else, but it's quite irrelevant. More positive comments. We're already in the market and we're already talking with people that can help us to cover those positions, and I feel quite strong. Now, he's a very intelligent man. He wouldn't say that unless signings were going to happen. Now, this is where fans need to be careful with their expectations. He is saying they've identified areas. He is saying they're talking to people. He has not said a world-class player is coming in and this is happening and that's happening. Obviously, we'd like to see that. Obviously, some people can have their opinions, but fans, we need to just wait and see what's happening in it. Do you see what I'm saying? We'll wait and see what is happening. It's nice to see that they're doing their due diligence and they're in the market and they've identified the areas. So come August, in an ideal world, the core part of our business is done early, so Emery can introduce the new man into the squad, get his tactics for the new season. The squad can collectively build and bond and learn where they went wrong and fix up in the many areas we've spoken about and know about: clean sheets, away games, defensively, game management, and other things. In an ideal world, for me, in an ideal world, if I was Arsenal chairman or whatever, you get the centre half, you get the midfielder, you get the winger. You've been knowing who you're trying to get or whatnot from the winter months, so you get them in. Then, in an ideal world, if you do your business early, the transfer market, like I tell you, is crazy. Some people might become available that wasn't available previously. Mad stuff starts happening. So if you do your key part and there's money on the side, you never know what can happen. Maybe we was in a different way in terms of if we had money and people can talk about Ozil or not. We heard talk of when Ozil was busting out from Real Madrid, but it wasn't feasible that Arsenal would sign him, and it came out of nowhere. Do you see what I'm saying? We didn't necessarily do the core business that summer, but you get the point. I remember that I was in Mali and my boy was telling me we're going to sign him. I'm like, yo, gas him, man. We're not going to sign him. This is just paper talk. Where are we getting peas for that? Dudes, nah, mad. But it's what it is. And Raul seems quite upbeat, so seeing is believing, and hopefully people don't take his words and believe there's something they're not, and possibly come to feel that they might have been let down. Being careful with the words and the terminology, people, as we get a bit more professional in this thing. He went on to say, I feel like I have a lot more ammunition when I talk with players to engage them in our project, even without Champions League. So, I mean, people can mock Arsenal, they can say what they want. We know for the last probably 3 years in particular, we've really went downhill and not moved forward. And we're not United, but you look at United, you look at Arsenal, Chelsea got peas, but within reason, they've still got attractive propositions. We still are in London. We're still the French connection. We've still done things in this football thing. Don't get confused or twisted. We can still attract players to a degree. So it's nice to see that he's upbeat with the Champions League. Obviously, if we get Champions League, you can probably attract that caliber of player, and it makes things more exciting. But if we're pessimistic, or we take an approach of preparing for the worst and hoping for the best, if we sadly lose to Chelsea, we've still got to be able to attract players. Identifying targets in today's market isn't hard. It isn't easy, but it isn't hard. We can identify targets. Everybody can. It's about persuading them and doing it early. So we'll have to see. He went on to obviously say, many players we're talking to right now want us to be in the Champions League. So are they waiting until we're in the Champions League possibly before they say, yo, we're going to do this thing? I don't know. But finally, the last comment I really took is that I do believe that we have a very good plan to cover those positions to be much stronger next year, to deliver the success that we're all hoping for. So I'm being careful of my predictions and my expectations, but I'd like to think if the fans can see we need a centre-half, a midfielder, possibly a winger, at least 2 of the 3 or 1 of the 3 and one of suitable standard will arrive. What sort of caliber, what sort of profile that player will be, only seeing is believing. And again, when you look at, we haven't got a director of footballing, possibly, how much forward thinking can you do without him in the job? Don't get me wrong, you can, but you see where I'm going, people. And there's a point I wanted to make. I was looking at this in my lunch break, but I cannot remember it, man. It's on my work laptop, so we'll probably revisit something tomorrow. Again, with expectations, don't expect no other vid with this card. DG needs a break. But on that note, people, I don't really have much more to say, so I'm going to kick out Deluded. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Pardon me, people. That's what I was going to say. The Marseille boss, what's his name, people? What's his name? Let me go on my Twitter. Andoni, I can't say his last name. The Marseille president allegedly, the Marseille president has confirmed that the sporting director, Andoni, who was previously linked with Arsenal, is staying. Now, words are just words. I don't know if there's official confirmation, new contracts, or what either party has said. But he was someone that I made a video about, someone that you saw speculated with taking the sporting director position. And if he's staying, Edu said he wants to do this thing after the Copa America. We'll have to see what he said and what we can do in terms of forward planning and all of these sort of things. Because, again, you can't, just because we ain't got them doesn't mean we can't move forward. Don't get it twisted. But in terms of the strategy, you got to think, people. Unai Emery is the head coach. You've got Raul in his position, Vinai. We're hearing talk of people getting promoted into scouting positions, and you're seeing other people come. They've got to work together and work in tandem. How much forward thinking and stuff can they do without the sporting director and things? Because it all helps to sign transfers. It's clearly not going to be a Ferguson or Wenger where it's just one man doing stuff, and even then it wasn't them. We obviously had David Dean to a degree, and those of you that are more clued up on that sort of side of things can give more examples, and those of you that support United can do your thing. But that's what I wanted to say, people, and we'll see in this believing. We'll have to see what business is done, people, man. Shout out to Dortmund for getting Brandt and Thorgan Hazard and selling Pulisic as well, man. That's some good little business there. Will they go back for Zaha? I'm not too sure. People, Deluded, I'm out.